What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We are back. We are going to be doing this full time. I'm going to be introducing some cool things, kind of like this, where we're just going to talk about certain games, plus power rankings and stadium reviews, stuff like that. So I hope you guys stick around and stay around with me. But without further ado, let's get on today's topic. We are talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're off to an 0-3 start after getting absolutely demolished by Buffalo, which seems to be the concurrent thing here. If you watch my power rankings tomorrow, Buffalo might be the number one team. They have dominated back-to-back teams, and before Tua got hurt, they were still a really good Miami Dolphin team. Now Tua gets hurt, not as good, but Tua played most of the game. So Buffalo is absolutely killing it. On the other end, Jacksonville is not. And we got to kind of sit here and debate what is the issue with Jacksonville? What is causing this issue? And I think it really comes down to, hey, you're paying Trevor Lawrence big bucks. You know, you're paying him money to be Lamar Jackson, a Patrick Mahomes type money out there. He's making more than both those guys I just mentioned. Lamar's won 2 MVPs. Patrick Mahomes won back-to-back Super Bowls. I mean, he's just not on that line. And he doesn't seem like he will get there. After a disappointing last season, he's not off to a great start this year, starting 0-3, losing to Cleveland, who looks to be one of the worst teams in football this year, given the fact that their quarterback situation is probably a million times worse. But they are still just not performing, and that is a huge problem if you're a Jacksonville fan or owner or anybody within the Jacksonville organization. Because here's the thing, you're paying Trevor Lawrence big quarterback money. He ain't getting big quarterback play, and that is gonna be a problem long term. We talk about this with a lot of other teams. The Bengals right now are about to go 0-3 as well, as they're losing pretty badly to a Washington Commanders team that isn't expected to be too good. But at the end of the day, Joe Burrow has at least proven that he's worth that contract, as Trevor Lawrence hasn't. And what has Trevor Lawrence done this year? He's not turnover heavy, but he isn't doing anything to wow us. He has literally thrown 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Nothing crazy. And one of those touchdowns was in friggin' garbage time against Buffalo tonight. Or I guess last night, once this video goes down live. Oh my gosh, what was that? Anyway, without further ado, it just isn't looking good. He's thrown for decent amount of yards, okay, completion percentage, whatever you want to say. But when it comes down to it, you need more out of a quarterback. You're paying that type of money. You've also brought in receivers to help him out. You're paying Christian Kirk a psychotic amount of money for Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram's still there, and he's played pretty good. Their O-line hasn't been solid. Obviously, it hasn't been great. He's taken 3+ sacks in all 3 games, 4 in game 2 and 3 in the other 2. So he's taken a decent bit of sacks, but sometimes that can also be put back on the quarterback. Honestly, I haven't watched the Jacksonville game, just throwing this out here, but they haven't been good. That's part of the reason why. When you're bad, you're not going to get watched, and this is bad for the NFL too, because when they got Trevor Lawrence, everybody's like, oh darn, they're going to be good. But honestly, right now, I would be more worried about their quarterback situation than almost anybody else in that division. Will Levis is the only guy in that division that legit concerns me between those quarterbacks. CJ Stroud looks fucking phenomenal. AR looks really, really good and has issues at points, but he still looks good. He's a work in progress. They knew he's a work in progress, but he's shown flashes. And all we've really gotten out of Trevor Lawrence is one playoff run where he won a game that he was terrible in until like the 3rd quarter. I mean, let's be real here. The Chargers chargered that game away. It was not a good Trevor Lawrence game. And yes, they almost beat the Chiefs the next week, whatever. They didn't. And then the next year, they really had the division on lock. You know, you're sitting there talking about all 3 teams in that division were playing with a rookie quarterback, basically. I mean, Will Levis didn't start until later in the year, but still, all 3 teams were playing with a rookie quarterback, and you had it on lock, and somehow you fall apart, lose it, and miss the playoffs completely, and then this year you start out 0-3. It's not a good look, and Trevor Lawrence is a big reason why. And Jacksonville really has to kind of sit down and debate, is Trevor Lawrence the guy we're going to stick with if we can't win football games with Trevor Lawrence at our quarterback position? And they don't have much of a choice, because they paid him the most money in the NFL at the time. Obviously, he's not anymore. He might still be. He might be tied with Burrow still. I don't think Dak passed him. I don't know if somebody else did. Basically, every other week, it feels like a new quarterback's getting paid more money. But either way, he was the highest paid quarterback. I don't know his exact contract, but it was like 5 years, $200-something million. So you're not going to move off of him. This is the same reason why the Giants still play Daniel Jones, because they paid him too much freaking money. at the end of the day, it just comes down to the fact that you cannot be sitting here with Trevor Lawrence making that type of money. Christian Kirk making the type of money he is. You still have Josh Hines Allen on the other side of the ball. Probably, I don't know if he's gotten paid yet, but he will get paid. If he hasn't gotten paid, he probably has got paid. So you're paying all these guys big bucks, and you're 0-3. You're right back where you were with Blake Bortles at quarterback. It does not look good. And if I'm Jacksonville, I'm super concerned, and I need to rebuild this, because out of all the teams that have struggled to start, which gives you Baltimore, 49ers, Dallas, none of them have looked good, but none of them have looked as bad as Jacksonville, or even really the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals are possibly just as much worth as a spot. If they lose next week, you might be seeing me make another video about the Bengals then. But right now, we're going to focus on Jacksonville. And honestly, Buffalo on the other end of that might be the best team in football. Buffalo has now blown out 2 Florida-based teams. Josh Allen looks like the MVP frontrunner, despite the fact Sam Darnold's best efforts to stop him there. But he can't put a stop in it. Josh Allen just goes and bowls out. Again, they struggled a little bit against a very scrappy, very gritty Cardinals team, but they still won that game, and then they dominated back-to-back games. I think Buffalo's the best team in football right now. We all doubted them. They gutted their defense. They have no receivers. Josh Allen is just him. He knows how to play football. I think, honestly, getting Stephon Diggs out of there has helped Josh Allen out immensely and has made him such a better player. And this is showing. I think the Bills are the best team. I think Jacksonville should be afraid and maybe need to move off of Trevor Lawrence, even though that's not really possible because they just paid him. So they're stuck with Trevor Lawrence. But he's not going to be the guy. He has proven that he is not this insanely great player that we thought he was coming out of college, and his hype has only carried him this far, and it's not going to carry him any farther. Trevor Lawrence is definitely overrated, and is definitely not worth the money they give him. And Jacksonville's in a crappy spot for another, 4 years is that contract? It's a crazy amount of time. But if you guys enjoy these type of videos, I'm going to do a lot more of these. I'm going to do power rankings, stadium reviews, weekly game predictions. So please hit that follow or that subscribe button. It does me a ton, and I appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you guys in the next one.